and why we decided to work on this aspect of the game as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think getting new players into the game is super, super important for all of us, right? We want this game to continue grow. We want to get new players in. We want to get our friends in that maybe like didn't want to play it yet. Like this is another way for us to reach out to new players, to give them a chance to actually be part of this, kind of ease them into the game, give them a chance to actually kind of like familiarize themselves, etc. When we went out of early access in 2019, like we had to just put a very basic tutorial in. It was kind of like playing the game offline locally, like in a reduced version, and then a couple of hints can at least tell you a little bit what's going on. We were never really quite happy with it. It did its job basically, but it was never really a good tutorial. So we were super happy that we can finally come back to this, actually provide a proper atmospheric tutorial that players can kind of like use to immerse themselves a little bit in the game, but also take away very important beats in terms of understanding what the game is all about and what to look out for.
Right. I mean, I know everyone in chat has 5,000 hours in Hunt, but Hunt is a really complicated game with a lot to know, a lot of mechanics, and I would say a pretty big learning curve to like properly understand. And I think this is a great step to introduce people to that and make them understand the game much better. But yeah, let's talk about what it actually entails then.
So first off, like we actually do have a completely overhauled voice tutorial now. So like think of it as a very traditional tutorial where you go room to room and learn new things and then move on to the next room, put them to practice and kind of build upon that knowledge that you learned before. So very typical work for if you have played a game tutorial, you know what's coming basically. But we also have a veteran hunter, John Victor, voiced by iconic Duke Cockle. So please Google that name. And he will basically be kind of like hand-holding you through the entire experience, more or less. He might also challenge you quite a bit. And make sure that in the end you are certified hunter.
And yeah, we will take a short look in just in a few minutes of the tutorial as well, so you guys see. But this is actually the first voice-acted character in Hunt, and when I watched it, I got goosebumps. It's like the first, like you get a different feeling. It makes you feel like it's real, you know. So it's great. And I can't wait to show you in a few minutes how it is. But still, let's talk about what the tutorial has and what is the difference between the basic and the advanced options we also had in the past.
Exactly. So like the tutorial, like the onboarding is divided into two parts. Well, we have this basic tutorial, which is like the core elements of the game. This is that room-to-room experience, that guided experience where John Victor is basically, turning you into a proper hunter. So besides the core elements of Hunt, which is obviously movement, etc., there's also other important things. If you go to the next one, please, which is gunplay. On one hand, of course, team play. So yes, there is a multiplayer component to it. Obviously, without having other players, we still want to teach you about important things you need to learn in the game regarding PvP. So threat clues, for example, reviving, what that means. So all of that is being covered in the tutorial, and we hope that players have a much better understanding. This was one of the shortcomings in the old tutorial, is that we basically never had the chance to really teach you about other players, except for putting a couple of corpses around you could loot, but it was a very, very limited experience. Of course, there is no PvP fighting here, but still, we're touching upon the topic, and we hope that we can prepare the players a lot better for their first PvP encounters and their first, in general, steps in the Bayou when there's other players around.
Right, but we still do have the advanced tutorial available as well. So what will that do then differently?
Yeah, so the advanced tutorial is basically the section you can kind of continue into seamlessly once you've played the basic tutorial. You can also access this separately, and this is one compound you can kind of explore. And you have all of the AI types in there. They're sometimes even a bit caged in. So, for example, emulators are not able to run out of a certain area. So you can actually play with the mechanics a little bit. It doesn't become like a big mess as they all run into one another and you have hives and meatheads and whatever attacking you all at the same time. We try to pace it as much as possible in the sandbox environment, so you can really spend some time with each of the AI types. And there's also lots of tooltips, that kind of like hints that kind of pop up through the basic tutorial, but also the advanced tutorial that kind of gets you to a specific like narrative pages in the manual, so you can read up more about all of these details. So like the entire UI has been kind of like updated for that purpose as well. It's a lot more hand-holding and gives you much more information what to look out for if you want to learn more, how to dig deeper into that and read up on the details.
Yes, and as always, please help us test this. This is actually a big feature, so if you wouldn't mind going to the test server soon and actually playing through the tutorial and give us your feedback would be very helpful.
There's one thing as well. You guys might be familiar with this from the current tutorial. So you can replay the tutorial later on. And the advanced tutorial section, you can also replay. And if you do, you can basically bring your current hunter. There's no risk of losing that hunter with the gear, whatever you put on them, and you can try things out. So you can still use that as an environment, for example, to kind of like shoot at specific AI types, try things out, and like get a feeling for example, like recoil of weapons, handling, etc. So whatever you've unlocked, whatever is in your arsenal, you can put on a hunter, you can replay the tutorial, and then you can try those, like the equipment, the gear out without spending it, without losing it, and obviously also without progressing your hunter that way.
Awesome. So what do you think, Dennis? Should we show a few minutes of this?
Yeah. So we've recorded like the first 3.5 minutes, and I think we're just gonna show you the introduction video of the tutorial in the first 3 minutes, and then the rest you can try out on the test server once it comes online. So there will be a couple of things obviously not shown in that one then.
Right. So I'm just gonna mute you and me, and yeah, guys, enjoy it. This is gonna be a lot of fun. So let's look.
For you, the suffering of a savior and the coin of a betrayer. The pain is forever, but the money is worth it. You're a survivor, or at least got the makings of one. Get on up now. That injection knocked your teeth in real good, didn't it? There's a health kit by the gate. Use it. All patched up? Then head on out. You got a lot to learn. First lesson. Wading through water is noisy and slow, but sometimes it's the only way forward. Stay vigilant. It's good to be quick, but running for too long will drain you. Stop sprinting at times to catch your breath. You're gonna encounter traps like that from time to time. Patch up so you don't bleed out. I gave you that first aid kit for a reason. If it's used up, there's a health station right there. Now, if you want to make good money, you're gonna need to find a target. Remember that shot? It made you special, and it'll help you see beyond human limits. It gave you something called dark sight. Feels like an itch behind the eyes. Focus on that feeling to enter the sight and look for a blue glow. The light'll lead you to your first clue. Each clue guides you towards your target. That map I left in your pocket will point you forwards. I even took the trouble of marking supply points and the like in the legend. Between the map and Darkside, you'll be able to narrow down the location of your target with each clue. Good work. Looks like your target is west. Head on up the ladder and let's see how sneaky you can be. Got ourselves a bunch of animals. They're ready to holler if you spook them, and that risks you alerting an enemy nearby. Try to reach the gate across the way without troubling any animals. Who knows? I might even reward you.
So yeah, I mean, I feel like it kind of speaks for itself. I see people with goosebumps in the chat. I feel the same way. It's amazing.
I can't stop smiling.
Yeah, same. It's
I'm super happy and super proud of the team that did that. Like, it's an